Good morning, students. How are you all? I hope you all are keeping well. Children, in today's video class, we will study the poem Father to Son, composed by Elizabeth Jennings. Students, the poem Father to Son is autobiographical in nature and it describes the relationship between the father and his son. Student, the points which we will cover up in today's video class are about the poet, introduction of the poem, stanza-wise explanation, difficult words, and poetic devices used in the poem. So first of all, let us know something about the poet. Students, the poet is Elizabeth Jennings and she was born in Boston, England in July 1926. She first attended St. Anthony's School in Haddington. She later attended Oxford High School. Student Jennings received her university education from St. Anne's College in Oxford from 1944 to 1947. Students Jennings' early poetry was published in journals such as Oxford Poetry, New English Weekly, The Spectators, Outposts, and Poetry Review. Students Elizabeth Jennings died in 2001. So now let us know the introduction of the poem Father to Son. Students, the poem Father to Son is composed by Elizabeth Jennings and the poem is about the anguish or pain of a father who does not have a good relationship with his son. His son is now grown up and busy in his life. So the father is bitter about the generation gap between them and the feeling of separation. So student father shares his feeling by saying he does not know much about his son and there is no sign of understanding between them. So he wants their relationship to be just like when his son was a child. So students, he is trying his best to resolve the issue, but all is in vain. Therefore, they are drifting apart only. Students, the poem has 4 stanzas. So let us look at the first stanza, students. The first stanza says, I do not understand this child, though we have lived together now in the same house for years. I know nothing of him. So try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. So students, in the above stanza, the poet shares his feelings about his relationship with his son. He says that although both had lived together in the same house for many years, yet he does not understand him. He does not know anything about his son, his likes and dislikes. So students, the father tries to build up a relationship with him, with his son, from the time he was a small child. Now, student, his son has changed as he has grown up. Let us see what does poet say in the second stanza. Second stanza says, students, that yet have I killed the seed I spent or sown it where the land is his and none of mine. student, he says that we speak like strangers. There is no sign of understanding in the air. The child is built to my design, yet what he loves, I cannot share. So here, students, seed word has been used. Seed means here, students, his efforts, father efforts, right? His to groom the boy. And the word land has been used here. So here land means, students, the child's mind is the land actually, into which the father had tried to sow the seeds of his thoughts. So here, students, father uses I in the first line to acknowledge his role in the communication gap between them. Students, he says that despite all efforts, his son was in another place that the father cannot access. They talk to each other like strangers, and there is no sign of understanding between them. His child, you know, looks like him, and yet he does not know what his son loves. Right? So here, student, the child is built to my design means the poet means that the son resembles his father physically, only physically, but his habits are different from his father. Let us move forward to the next stanza. Here in the third stanza, students, the poet says that silence surrounds us. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his world. Right? I would forgive him too, shaping from sorrow a new love. So here, students, what happens is the word prodigal has been used here. The prodigal means, students, the one who spends money or using resources freely and recklessly. So, student, here there is silence between them. As a child, he was a prodigal son. Now his father wanted him to return to his house, the one, that house which he knows. Students, his father does not want his son to move around and make his own world. He is ready to forgive him and let go of the sorrows he had inside him, because of his son, because of the distance between them. Students, he wants to love him again. So, this was the third stanza, students. Let us see what does he say in the last stanza. Student, last stanza is that father and son, we both must live on the same globe and the same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. Myself, why anger grows from grief? We each put out an empty hand, longing for something to forgive. So, here in the concluding stanza, students, the son speaks for the first time. First time, son speaks and explains what he feels. A student's son also feels sad about the distance between them, and he shares that he is at a point where he does not understand himself also. A student's his anger arises out of his sadness. So it is quite clear that on both sides lies the same frustration about the gap in their relationship. They both want to forgive each other, and yet they cannot find a solution to the problem. And students, both of them put out an empty hand for the other to seek, but everything is in vain. So I hope you have understood this poem. Thank you very much.